Aries, not every smile carries light, and not every touch delivers warmth. There are people who step into your life with an open hand, but hidden in that palm is a thorn you haven't seen yet. And you know, your soul often senses it long before your mind can give it a name. If lately you've felt tired for no reason, as if someone has quietly taken your peace, maybe it's time to listen to that whisper inside, because sometimes what you think is just a passing breeze is actually the very first sign that a storm is drawing near. And that is where our story begins today, with the moment you notice a strange wind in the air. There are days when the sky is still blue, the sun still gentle, the birds still singing outside your window, and yet, somewhere in the space around you there is a different kind of breeze. It's not cold like winter, not hot like summer. It just makes your skin prickle and your heart, though steady, seems to skip one subtle beat. You're sitting among familiar faces, hearing familiar stories, and then a laugh rings out. If you only hear it with your ears, it sounds warm enough. But when you hear it with your heart, a small ripple moves through your chest. It's light, but unmistakable, as if your soul just whispered, "Pay attention." Aries, your intuition has never lied to you. Before your mind can analyze, before your eyes and ears confirm, your soul sends a signal. It might be a fleeting glance you can't quite explain, a short pause in someone's story, or that brief moment when their eyes meet yours and you feel as though you've stepped into a room without light. I know, we sometimes push that feeling aside. We tell ourselves, "I'm just overthinking." But your soul never sends a message to the wrong person. Every unusual feeling has a reason to exist. And if you've ever experienced it, you know it's not fear, not exactly suspicion. It's a soft bell ringing deep inside, just enough to tell you that something isn't right. I remember once sitting at a lively dinner table, looking at the smile of a friend I'd known for years. Everything about their face was perfect: the eyes, the curve of their lips, the sound of their laughter. And yet, somewhere inside me, I heard the sound of a door closing. A faint chill moved through me, like a gust of wind passing through a warm memory. And right then, I knew there were things behind that smile I wasn't ready to see. Aries, what I want to tell you is trust those moments. Trust the feeling you can't name, but that makes your heart tighten just a little. It's not an illusion. It's your soul protecting you before what's hidden has a chance to cut deeper. Have you ever been near someone who spoke kindly, acted politely, gave you the comfort of familiarity, but deep inside you felt cold? A cold that didn't come from the weather, but from some invisible distance between two hearts. A cold that made you realize not every touch carries warmth. In moments like that, the greatest lesson isn't to rush into accusations or search for proof. It's to pause, to listen to the whisper of your intuition and give it space to speak. You don't need to understand it right away. You don't need to react instantly. Just acknowledge that something in the energy has shifted, and you deserve to be safe in your own space. Remember, human energy is like water. If the water is clear, you can see the light shine through. If it's murky, no matter how gently someone stirs it, there's still a haze that keeps you from seeing the bottom. And your soul, like a finely tuned compass, will notice the moment the color changes. I want to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. Think back to a time when you could clearly feel someone's energy change. It might have been a friend, a family member, a colleague. When you remember it, ask yourself, did you trust that feeling or did you push it away? Because next time your soul sends you a signal, I hope you'll listen, not to live in fear, but to walk with awareness. Have you ever sensed an unusual energy from someone, even when they seemed friendly? I believe your story could help not just you see more clearly, but also help someone out there recognize what they've been trying to ignore. And as you begin to notice those signals, you'll come to understand something. Not every smile is an invitation to step in. Some smiles are like a door left slightly open, beautiful from a distance, but hiding a dark room inside. When you start to understand this, you won't rush into every room just because the door is open. And that is when the real story begins. A story about masks worn with skill, about invisible threads quietly wrapping around your steps, and about why, sometimes, the wisest thing you can do is to stand at the doorway and look closely before you step inside. There are faces you think you know well. The warm hugs, the polite questions, the smiles that seem so full of care. They're like fresh flowers placed in the center of the table. But if you sit a little longer in a quieter place, you start to hear the whisper of something else, a sound so faint, yet strong enough to stir your soul. Aries, there are friends in this world who know exactly how to hide their true intentions behind good manners. They give you kind wishes, while their hands are quietly weaving invisible threads behind your back. Threads that don't bind you all at once, but wrap around you slowly, loop by loop, as if nothing's wrong. You still smile, you still walk forward, but somehow the road feels narrower. I once knew someone like that. They were there with me on my happiest days, but in their eyes, there was a strange glint that only appeared when I spoke about my successes. It wasn't pride, it was a quiet question. How can I make that stop? Back then, I wasn't clear-eyed enough. I told myself it was just my imagination, but what happened after showed me I had let them stand far too close to my heart. Not everyone standing beside you wants you to go far. Some get close not to walk with you, but to measure the distance between you and them, to see what you have that they don't. And when they find it, instead of rising with you, they find a way to pull you down so everything feels balanced again. It's a deep kind of pain to discover that the hand you once held tight is the very hand that pushed you. That pain isn't just in the act, it's in the collapse of trust. It's like believing you're standing on solid ground, only to realize it's a thin layer of ice over deep water. Recognizing energy like this is the first step toward inner freedom, because if you don't know who's tying those threads around you, you can't untangle them. And untying isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's simply stepping back, leaving the room before the door closes, keeping for yourself a pocket of air to breathe. You might ask, how do I know when energy isn't right for me? I'd tell you, you don't need to search with your eyes or ears. Just listen to how your heart reacts. After a conversation, do you feel lighter or heavier? After seeing someone, do you feel inspired or drained? Your heart always knows, and your soul always remembers. Think back, has anyone ever made you doubt yourself, even when you hadn't done anything wrong? That's a clear sign. Someone with gentle, safe energy will never plant seeds of confusion in you. They'll make you feel whole, not wondering where you might be broken. The hardest part is accepting that toxic energy can sometimes come from those you once loved, trusted, even family. But the truth is, you can't heal someone who doesn't want to change. All you can do is protect yourself so you don't get pulled into their storm. When you start to see the masks for what they are, the world might feel colder for a moment. Because you realize not everyone is on your side. But at the same time, the light becomes clearer. Because you know that what remains around you is real, is trustworthy, and doesn't need to hide behind a cover to survive. And then you'll see something else. Toxic energy doesn't stop at words or actions. It seeps into the air, clings to your thoughts, and if you keep it close for too long, it begins to affect the very rhythm of your breath. So if you've spotted those invisible threads, you need to understand why they're dangerous, not just for today, but for the road ahead. Because sometimes, even a single, fragile thread is enough to keep a kite from reaching its highest sky. Aries, there's a truth not everyone dares to say out loud. Toxic energy doesn't have to shout or openly destroy to hurt you. It doesn't always come like a storm crashing in. It's more like a thin layer of fog, at first so clear you can still see the sun. But little by little, it thickens. Not in a single day, but through dozens, even hundreds of moments that seem harmless. And by the time you realize it, your vision has been clouded for a long time. The people carrying this kind of energy may never do anything wrong you can point to. They don't always criticize you out loud. They might just drop a few vague words, half compliment, half critique. They might send you a glance that seems casual, but leaves you questioning yourself. They congratulate you, but their hug feels colder than a handshake from a stranger. And just like that, without noise, without an obvious break, they've carved a question mark inside you. I call these half-hearted blessings, because a true blessing lifts you up, but a half-hearted one leaves a thin scratch on your heart. It might seem too small to matter, but over time those scratches stack up, and one day you find yourself wondering, do I really deserve this? Some people simply can't see the light in you because it blinds them. They can't admit that you've gone farther, reached higher, or are simply happier than they are. And instead of tending to their own flame, they choose to blow a thin smoke into yours. That smoke doesn't kill your fire right away, but it makes you cough, makes you forget the fresh air of freedom and confidence. I've been there. Conversations that left me drained and I didn't know why. Meetings that seemed harmless, but when I got home, I felt like I was carrying an invisible sack of stones. At first, I blamed myself, thought I was just too sensitive. But then I realized it wasn't my fault. It was the energy I had allowed too close for too long. Have you ever met someone who left you exhausted after only a few minutes of talking? If you have, you understand that exhaustion isn't from overwork or lack of sleep. It's from keeping your fire alive while someone quietly is siphoning off the oxygen. And here's the lesson: just like you clean your home when it gathers dust, you have to learn how to cleanse the energy space around you. A dirty house you can sweep, but what about a soul covered in dust? You'll have to sweep it clean with awareness, with boundaries, and with the courage to say no to what doesn't nourish you. You deserve to live in a space where words lift you, where eyes look at you with genuine joy, where blessings are full of hope. But to have that, first, you have to recognize the smoke, the fog that's surrounding you. And once you see it clearly, you'll understand there are some things you can't just stand still and wait for them to fade. Some fog only grows thicker if you don't step out of it. Maybe that's when you ask yourself, what would happen if I walked away? If I cut the cord to the source that's clouding my vision? And you might discover that sometimes only when you let go can you truly be free. Aries, some relationships are like a tiny thorn beneath your skin. At first, you think it's nothing, just a little discomfort. You keep moving, keep doing, keep smiling. But the thorn is still there, quietly, not going away. And every time you brush against it, that sharp sting reminds you it's still buried deep inside. You know that unless you take it out, the wound will never heal. Keeping someone with toxic energy close is the same. They might have been someone you trusted, maybe even someone you once loved. But if they keep planting doubts in your mind, if their words are laced with double meanings, or if you constantly feel you have to shrink yourself to fit beside them, then it's no longer friendship, love, or any form of healthy connection. It's a quiet kind of bondage, one that slowly steals your peace. Walking away is not selfish. I want you to let that truth sink in. Walking away is self-respect. It's how you protect the health of your soul before it's worn down. No one has the right to make you smaller so they can feel big enough. And you are under no obligation to stay just to prove that you're noble or good at enduring. I've seen so many people stay in relationships like this, telling themselves they owe someone an explanation, another chance, or endless patience. But Aries, you don't have to stay to prove anything. Your leaving is already the clearest answer, that you choose yourself, choose peace, choose to walk a path where no hand is deliberately holding you back. Sometimes the greatest courage is not in fighting, but in closing the door you once opened as wide as you could. And the hardest part is doing it without waiting for someone to step up and say, I understand, or you're right. You leave because you know you need to leave, and that is enough. I know you might hear the whispers, you're too sensitive, you're giving up, or you've changed. But change is natural when you grow. Leaving a toxic relationship isn't quitting, it's choosing to survive, choosing to live better. If you've ever ended a toxic relationship, what helped you make that choice? Maybe it was one last moment you couldn't bear, or a morning you woke up and realized you were so drained, you no longer recognized yourself. Share it, because your story could be the light that guides someone else standing at their own crossroads. And then, when you let go, when you pull that thorn from your skin, there will be an empty space. At first, it might make you feel lost, but that space is the fresh ground where something good can grow. It's the open sky where light can pour in, where you can breathe deeply without fearing that any breath will be cut short. Because the moment you step out of the shadow of restraint, the universe begins to move. Doors you never noticed before will open. People you never imagined meeting will arrive. And opportunities that once felt far away will start making their way toward you gently but surely, like a river finding its natural course again. Aries, there are moments in life that feel like clearing out a room that's been overcrowded for far too long. When the space is jammed with clutter, light can barely find its way in. But when you finally have the courage to open that door, pull each piece out, sweep away the dust that's been settling for years, suddenly the room feels open, light, or free. And in that moment, you realize empty space isn't loss. It's fresh ground, ready for the seeds of the best things life has to offer. You see, when toxic energy leaves your life, it's as if the universe finally gets permission to move, to bring you gifts that before had nowhere to land. A financial opportunity you once thought was out of reach, an unexpected offer from someone you never imagined, or even a love that feels calm, not loud, not draining, but steady, safe. I believe those blessings aren't random. They've been standing outside your door all along waiting. But that door was blocked by unhealthy relationships, by old stories you couldn't release, by emotions you kept locked away. And only when you say, enough, only when you clear those invisible barriers, can those blessings finally step in. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your future is say no today. No to vague promises that never become real. No to conversations that make you doubt your worth. No to sacrificing your peace just to keep someone from leaving. I've met people who, when they let go, entered a long stretch of silence. They feared they would feel empty forever, but then they discovered something. That silence after someone leaves is actually the sound of freedom. It's the quiet where you can finally hear your own voice again, where you rediscover the dreams you once abandoned, where you realize the world still holds beauty far beyond what you've just closed the door on. So Aries, I want you to ask yourself, what is the one thing I long for most as I step into this new chapter? Maybe it's a peaceful home, a job that makes you feel alive with purpose, or simply waking up each morning with a light heart. Write it down. Picture it so vividly that it already feels real, because when your mind is clear, your energy will guide you right toward what you've been dreaming of. And then, when you feel that new current flowing through your life, you'll understand. Letting go isn't losing. Letting go is giving yourself the chance to live more fully, more deeply, more truthfully. The road ahead, when no longer shadowed by darkness, will be brighter than you think. And that light won't just come from the new things finding their way to you. It will come from you, the one who had the courage to clear the space for what truly belongs. And when those blessings are finally yours, the next question will be, how do I keep this garden of energy pure so that no one can step in and plant the seeds of doubt or weariness again? Aries, when you finally release the energies that no longer belong in your life, a new chapter begins to open. But right now, just as important, is protecting that clear, open space you've created, so it's not filled again with the very things that once drained you. I want you to picture your soul as a home. No one can enter unless you open the door. And just like any home, you get to choose who steps inside. Because not everyone who knocks brings flowers. And not every knock is an invitation worth answering. Some people walk in with a smile, but leave behind a heavy scent in the air or a coldness deep in your chest. Your energy is like a garden. It needs a fence to protect it, and a gentle hand to nurture it. That fence isn't meant to shut the world out, but to make sure only what's good is allowed to touch you. You can welcome those who plant with you, who water the soil, who share in the beauty of the blooms, but be mindful of the hands, whether careless or deliberate, that trample the tender shoots you've been growing. Not every hand reaching toward you is there to lift you up. Some are there to pull you down, and the hardest part is knowing which hand is which. But Aries, you already have the most powerful tool for that, your intuition. Intuition is the quiet voice that still comes through clear. It's the dim light that never wavers, guiding you through the shadows of pretenses and masks. Your trust in that intuition and your self-respect are the strongest walls you can build. Because when you truly honor yourself, you won't hand your keys to just anyone. You'll know how to say no, even when your mind hasn't yet found the reason, but your spirit feels the warning. You'll know when to stay silent, because not everyone deserves to hear the chapters of your story. Ask yourself, how do I protect my energy every single day? Maybe it's a few quiet minutes of meditation in the morning, a still cup of tea before bed, or simply not replying right away to the messages that feel heavy. These small acts, repeated day after day, become a strong ring of protection around your soul. And here's the beautiful part. When you keep that circle strong, you no longer live in constant defense, because when you trust your own boundaries, you're free to open your arms to the connections that are safe, healthy, and nourishing. So picture yourself standing in your own garden, sunlight warming your skin, flowers swaying gently in the wind. And you know this is your safe space. No one can break it unless you allow them in. And here in this space, You can return to yourself whole and steady, because in the end, the greatest treasure isn't just removing what doesn't belong, it's keeping yourself in a state of protection, so your inner light is never dimmed, and from that safety, you'll be ready for the next step, the step of someone who has learned to stand fully in their own light. Aries, when you finally step away from dangerous energy, the first thing you may feel is relief. No more conversations that weigh on your heart like stone. No more eyes measuring you, sizing you up in silence. No more moments where you shrink yourself just to fit inside someone else's frame. But that is only the beginning, because when the air around you becomes clear again, something remarkable happens. You start to realize you are so much stronger than the version they once tried to pin on you. True strength doesn't come from proving you're right in front of someone else. It comes from standing in a quiet space with no noise, no judgment, and knowing deep down that you are living in alignment with your own values. That's when you understand your inner light was never smaller just because someone found it too bright, and you don't have to dim it to make them comfortable. Real light doesn't ask for permission to shine. It doesn't depend on applause or nods of approval or the sweet sound of praise. It's the raw, unshakable part of you that no one can ever take away. And there's a deeper truth here, Aries. You don't need anyone's approval to live a meaningful life. You don't have to please everyone. You don't have to carve yourself into a shape that fits someone else's expectation. This life is not a stage where the audience gets to decide your role. It's a journey where you are the writer, the main character, and the only one responsible for your happiness. When you stand tall in your own light, the things that once made you anxious will lose their power. The whispers will fade into distant wind. The watchful eyes will no longer pierce your heart, and instead you'll begin to draw in the ones who see your worth, who meet your soul, who help you grow. So ask yourself today, what will you do to protect and honor your light? Maybe it's saying no to what unsettles you. Maybe it's giving time to an old dream, or maybe it's simply sitting still, breathing deep, and reminding yourself, you deserve this peace. One day you'll look back and realize every time you chose yourself, every time you walked away when your heart told you to, it brought you here, to this place where you stand strong, free, and brilliant, in a light no one can dim. Thank you for staying with me until this very moment. May you always find peace in every breath and the courage to walk away when your heart calls you forward.